if we don't heal from the things that hurt us, if we don't deal with the traumas that we grew up with, then we run the risk of raising a society that's full of traumas, a society that's full of hurt, because ultimately hurt people hurt people. Today, different conversation altogether. I get to sit with a few of my mates to speak about what it means for them when we speak about mental wellness, and what does mental health mean to them, and what are we doing to address issues that affect us, issues that trigger us in becoming better human beings, living in better societies, and doing better for ourselves. Today, we get to sit for conversation with Lucy and address issues around mental wellness. So, mental wellness is a big thing. It's a trending topic amongst our generation. We see a lot of people coming out and say, I've been suffering from this in silence, and other people have said, committed suicide because they were suffering from depression. I'd like to know from you guys. First and foremost, welcome to Conversation with Lucy. It's a weird one. I never get to see people like this. It's mostly one-on-ones. But maybe let's start with Ramuti and speak about as a guy in modern South Africa, in modern society. What are your thoughts around therapy amongst us?
Well, I think that it's about time. It's a necessary conversation to have because therapy has always been firstly seen as a Western thing and not something that's predominant in the Black communities. And even far worse, not something that's predominant within male figures, within communities. It's something that we know that it needs to start happening. I think also that if I'm looking from a personal experience, it took me years for me to get to the realization that therapy is something that I personally need, because I'm a male, right, and we can have conversations on the surface, right? And we never get to really delve deeper into what some of our challenges or problems are, and to completely sit with a stranger and talk about things that would seem they make you less of a man, because you can't be seen as soft based on how society has painted us, or what we have learned also from our elders, male elders. So I think therapy is a necessary conversation to start having. I think it's something that's to be mandatory for all of us.
But you speak about the historical legacies of where we come from. It's always been frowned upon, for me to be seen as soft. And you showing a bit of emotion, a seen as a sign of weakness. But where do you think we need to start? So as a male, where do you think this conversation must start?
Sure. I don't know, but I think for the fact that we are seeing some of the challenges that are happening, where the rate of suicide has increased drastically within males over the last 5 years, and it's been projected that it will even spike up. Where we see the number of gender-based violence from male to female has increased, right? Where we see how so many of these challenges that are linked to male has increased so drastically in comparison to all the yesteryears. It shows that we need to do something about it. And when we start, I think having a conversation about it is a good place for us to start.
And do you think men, whether they are friends, whether they are brothers or their colleagues, do you think men are comfortable to open up to each other about these are my challenges as a man, I'm struggling with this thing, I'm dealing with this thing?
No, I don't think so. I think even now having this conversation about it is uncomfortable because generally as men we don't want to be vulnerable, right? And having this conversation means that I have to be vulnerable, and we're not ready. It's easier for females to just open up. They can have a tea party. And then already by the time they leave, they know everything about, Yeah.
Okay, so maybe let's bring the tea party to the
Let's bring the tea I think we need to understand, it's important for us to understand our differences, right? you so rightly said that women connect with language. Like we can sit here and not know each other, but we will sit and we will talk and be as best friends. Right? But men use language to solve problems. So it's not so much that you have not been taught, or historically men have never needed to sit and to connect because men were out hunting, doing the things that men do to make sure their families are okay, and women are sitting at home connecting. So I think it's about now starting to, and I mean, look, we don't talk to solve problems. I can come to Nico and be like, girl, this cup, and we can have 30 minutes just discussing this cup, not what's in the contents, not we can just talk about the cup, and it will be, not do I want to buy this cup or I want to buy a white one. No, it's just the cup, and we're happy to do that, and it's also a thing that men need to start getting comfortable connecting
at a much more deeper level.
Even if it's not at a deeper level, but for you to spend more time just connecting, because I think you want your language is to, I have a problem, okay, let's fix it, this, that, or look at my beautiful sports car, or whatever validations you guys are using the language to get from each other, but not sitting to find out actually how are you, and wherever that rabbit hole will take you. So I think it's important that we realize that we actually may need to be more intentional about it, to sit and have conversations that are deep, that are meaningful, and that it's a safe space for you guys.
Look, I'm going to tap onto your expertise here because you guys have been having the tea party.
Oh, wow.
In our house, right? So you guys have been having conversations about a mark and not necessarily what's inside the mark. You guys have been able to be intimate with each other from a conversation point of view. So Nico, from your end, from your personal opinion, what do you think we as men need to be doing, to get to that point? I mean, it's not an overnight job, right? But what do you think are some of the conversation starters that we need to engage to take to a point where we can find out
I think it honestly goes back to the true nature of what connecting is, and not showing up at a hangout to come flex. Because I think that's another thing about the male species, about you going back to the olden days of you're the provider in whatever sense. So when you're actually around other men, you're flexing your ability to, I can provide, I can protect. It's all good and well. But if you genuinely have certain connections, I should be able to, as a man, come to my other friend and have a moment of, I'm struggling, and know that one, safe space, but also I'll get some kind of counsel, but also someone holding my hand, and not, hey, you're just going to take my information and go talk about me out in the streets and make me less of a man, or come across as a less of a man. But actually, as men, creating a space or creating a culture or a behavior, or hey, creating your own tea parties, it's a safe space where I can genuinely talk, but also be ready to receive guidance, counsel, and call out. Because I think that's another thing about men. You're scared of what your friends will say, because you know there's borderline of you need to be accountable, and you're not ready. Because, and it is a generational thing as well, where men aren't taken through or aren't raised to be accountable for their actions. So that translates into mental health. And then we go, then boils down to mental health issues. Have you taken the time to actually figure yourself out? Sit down, introspect. Okay, how could I have been better or do better? And away from the provision and safety, but from a mental health, from a, where are you mental health wise, and how is that translating into relationships, your career, to how you provide, whatever it is. But actually sitting down with self and being self introspective to self and be honest with self. And then when you struggle, pick music up like, yo, let's grab a beer. But having that safe space of being vulnerable and being ready to give counsel from a non-judgment place. Because that's another thing. I personally feel like there's also high levels of judgment amongst the men. That's why we rather go suffer alone in silence.
I mean, are we then really obsessed with the issue of provision to a point where we neglect other things that are very important? And by that I mean, are we obsessed with being the providers of men that we then get to neglect the machine that enables us to be able to connect? Are we then obsessed with the provision that we then get to neglect other factors of society that enable us to be able to provide? Would that be the case?
Yes. In my personal opinion, I'd say definitely yes, because that's how the boy child is raised. The boy child is raised to the end all and be all is you need to just provide and protect. We don't raise the boy child to have that underlying thing of are you well, and genuinely ask you, are you okay? Because if we just look at basic things of, I'll use an example of preschool and like really primary life. When a boy child comes home and they express themselves about, oh, how was your day? Oh no, it's fine. What did you study? Okay, that's all. But we'll ask the girl child, are you okay? And then as soon as there's a slight of emotion, you rather sit the girl child and talk about what's wrong, Nana, rather than the boy child is like, be strong. Boys don't. That actually builds up into so many other mental health issues that we honestly have planted and fueled and literally like watered throughout the growth of that poor child, where I can't tell mom I'm not okay because I've been told boys don't cry. And that's not something I hear now in 2022. I still hear. Boys don't cry. Toughen up. No, be a man about it. They need to express themselves. And then we wonder why we also have suicide in young kids. Because they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. So clearly I'm not good enough. So that then translates into a grown man married with kids and struggles with dealing with failure or mental health issues, or actually being able to articulate themselves on I'm not okay and I can't run to news and speak that because I still need to have this facade of protecting and providing and being man about it, being in try. That line alone has so much stigma, but also has so much damage and reputation.
I mean, you are raising very valid points, right? And I'm almost, I find my mind is around the low.
Yeah.
Because then I
There's
a lot of moving parts that are going on here, right? So and I realize that it's a thing that we suffer from and I can't speak white because I'm not being a white person, right? But I can speak about my experience of the planet, right? Where it has become a thing like listen, you're going through stuff, so what? Move on. You're not the person to go through it. And you can't have a picture pattern and you're not the definitely. You need to get out of it and move on with your life.
Get over it.
Get over it.
Yes.
So and that for me has always been a thing. It then becomes difficult to build a circle of kindness that you can go to and say, I'm struggling with this. And James was another example of football and girls and but not really speak about things that are of paramount importance in their own lives. So I can't speak about the fact that I'm able to get it.
Yes.
Right? I can't speak about the fact that I am suffering with the financial management, the financial literacy. So it's a thing for guys generally, right? And that on its own has created a lot of issues. Because also ultimately, when you look at issues around femicide and gender-based violence, when you really trickle down and start interrogating the root cause, because right now we are busy addressing symptoms and byproduct of gender-based violence. No, the election, or no, whatever, or whatever can participate. But we don't get to speak about where does this anger come from? Where does this thing emanate from? So what gave this? Right? So for me personally, I think. And I know I asked the question about where do you think we need to start, right? And I think for me the journey needs to start with self.
Yes.
self-awareness, self-knowledge about who you are and what are the things that, because I know my trigger points. I know what are the things that trigger me. And as soon as I see these triggers, I'm very quick to run away from them because I know exactly what these triggers are, right? So maybe then the question is, as men, do we have a safe circle of friends that can go to the church?
So I think the circle is there, right? But how safe is it, we don't know yet until we were able to have these, deep, intimate conversations that we want to have regarding things that expose us, because like you say, we can speak about football, we can speak about all these things, but when it comes to things that are really affecting us, or wherever, it's very hard for us to just open up because society still requires us as a male figure to be strong, And I think it also ties brings in the element fragile masculinity.
Yeah.
That you cannot be seen if you're not honest, if you're not touched to emotions, you're seen as a weaker man, And we always want to maintain that. And it's not only us feeding that, it is society feeding it is our culture feeding it, our tradition feeding that, So it's hard for us to say that do we have that safe space until we start with ourselves, until I start and say, from our group, I'm not okay. Recent on Twitter, Blood Coffee tweeted and said, I'm not okay, and we started just talking because it's a necessary conversation to start having. And even if you can look at even the responses, some of Charles people saying, you're not okay, what do you mean you got money? What do you mean you're not okay?
You can afford not to have problems.
Yeah, so things like that, people still, so that society response, that's a part of the general public response to somebody saying that they're not okay. So I think starting with yourself, as you're saying, to see if I can engage with my circle and say that I'm not okay, how would I be received? There are times whereby maybe even the guys in the circle don't know how to respond to that because you never had the conversation. So declaring out, I'm not okay. You're like, what's wrong? But even the sayings, you're right. Like, clean and daughter, cool shot.
But what does that mean though?
Yeah,
it's so vague.
That just means, we never can, just remove the layers and just say, it's okay, what's wrong, talk. Just talk about it. So we don't know how safe the space is. And I think it goes both ways, not only male, but also female. How safe is the space? Or maybe we can answer the question by maybe from a female perspective. How has the space been safe for you guys? Or how do you know I can call my girlfriend and I know it's safe? Is it something that you built over the years? Or you find spaces that are maybe not safe as well? Because I've heard stories where
So here's the thing, right? It is something you built over the years, but it all goes to another dynamic, which is a conversation for another day on obviously your circle of friends and whatnot. So obviously as you grow, you make sure you gain new friends, but some also fall off. But then I think one thing we've already touched on women are able to connect. As much as we can speak about the man, she'll say something beautiful about the man and I will resonate immediately. That's where it is. Because I've expressed, or she's expressed, that we have something in common and we resonate, my guard is down. So I'm no more having this pretense of I need to still come across like I win out of the situation. No, it's not, my guard is down. She's able to connect with me and I'm able to be more vulnerable with her to a point of I actually need your guidance. So actually I need some counsel. I actually need some place where I can just and after that moment, trust me, I handle life a little bit better. Rather than carrying that and I literally am reactive, I have a temper, I ruin relationships, I ruin things, and God forbid that I'm making terrible decisions. But it's literally, yes, you read the room, but it all boils down to when the women are receptive to connecting, but also being open about I resonate with you. So I've also been through this, and without judgment of, oh girl, how did you put yourself in such a terrible relationship? Or how would you expect him to treat you like that? It's not even that. It's I resonate because I've been there. And here's the thing, I was that girl. I honestly was that girl, but I would never. And so God was like, yeah, girl. And put me in the situation. So now my perspective on certain things I approach with empathy. Because maybe she said something that I actually haven't experienced, but the emotion and the connecting, and I'm like, I resonate with the hurt. I then come with
the emotional part of it.
yes, I literally approach her with, I'm listening and I'm here to assist, if it even means I'm just listening, and not from a point where I'm ready to hear about you.
Yes.
Daily.
Yes. I think you touched on it. It's being open, like literally being open to saying I'm gonna put myself out there and we'll see.
Yes.
Right? Because I mean, if you go to the girls' bathroom, that's where you'll see. True. Listen, we can hate on each other, whatever. But if I see you in the bathroom and things like, girl, come, let me fix you.
Yeah.
And then, we just have that thing, and I think men are not open to being seen in their weakest point amongst each other.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that, what I understand about men is that it's a, can I say it's a primal thing, where you guys want validation. If you're not getting it at home or from the people that you love, your boys,
Thanks.
definitely. So you're not going there to be vulnerable. You're going there to show off, to be like, yeah, guys, I closed this deal, and wow, man, wow, no, we must connect you, and that thing makes you feel good. You know what I mean? And vele, sometimes I don't know. I'm not a man. I'm just saying. Maybe you do connect someone, and the guy's like, you know what, Lucy, thank you, and that thing makes you feel good. But it's never about just being open to being seen, the real you. Because I think you said you need to introspect. The real you will scare you.
Yes.
He will frighten you. But if I know I can go to you and be like, girl, listen, and she will not judge me. We will sit there together, we will cry, whatever. And if she's the right kind of friend, she'll let me. And then she'll be like,
Yeah.
you gotta bring it this way.
What we do on your point, we speak more about our wins than our weaknesses.
Yes.
So that because you can't validate a weakness.
Exactly.
We want you to validate the wins, like, and I think it then affirms what I aspire to be as a man, because the weakness doesn't affirm anything, because I want to seek that validation. It affirms the masculine man that I am, the alpha male that I am, and how I recognize within communities and my circle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good point.
And I think what we need to understand, my favorite author always says, you have to feel all the emotions. You can't feel happiness without feeling sadness. You can't numb the bad emotions and not numb the good ones. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, you, if we can't express our weakness, how then can we really enjoy the true wins?
Thanks. Yeah.
So, you guys need to be comfortable with your dark sides.
Yeah.
And that's...
I like that.
I fully agree with that thing, which is about it, right? That we need to be comfortable with our matters, but not dwell on the matter. So you being comfortable with it is acknowledge the fact that it exists, and being aware of the fact that it is there, right? And we spoke about, we can't speak about our weakness because there's no validation in weakness, but there's always a validation in what is perceived to be a weakness. But then don't you think that we have this thing completely cross-eyed in terms of there is no joy in winning. if you can't appreciate the failures.
But do you guys share that?
No,
with your circle?
but that's something
Yes,
now.
yes.
Now that I'm thinking about
Yes.
it, we've got this thing completely crosswise.
Yeah.
Because a win is a definite. A win is guaranteed, right? And the biggest lesson for me comes from the failures. The biggest lesson for me is understanding that there's a weakness and knowing exactly how to deal with the weakness, so that I'm able then to use that weakness to help me transition from that into being a win.
But you don't view weakness as a problem.
Yeah,
You view
yeah,
weakness
yeah.
as weakness.
Yes. And you shy away and run away
And
from
you
it.
shy away
It's
and
not
run-
something you bring it up. It's your
Exactly.
circles.
Because if you view weakness as a problem, men are natural problem solvers.
Yes, actually.
Men are natural.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Not be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But it's how you view the weakness.
That's a mom.
Drop it on.
Which I right? So men are natural problem solvers.
Yes.
And we don't see weakness as a problem. And therefore we are unable to solve it. Because it's seen as a hindrance and not as a problem.
Yes. It's a disability.
The disability.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So we then need to, the responsibility that we have as men is to put on a different pair of eyes and look at this thing from a so weakness is a problem.
Yeah.
And because we are problem solvers, it is our mandate to make sure that we solve this problem.
That sounds like a very nice man.
We are solving for
Yes,
it.
I love it. Yeah, I love this.
If A plus B is equals to C, and yeah, okay.
Therefore.
Okay, all right.
Therefore. So then, when you guys sit together and you say, guys, I have a problem, then everybody is now bringing their
Yes. They're thinking caps,
Thinking
ultimate
caps,
problem
everything.
solver.
And I think, sorry.
No, go for it.
And I think you've seen it when, as much as we have a certain problem, right? Whether it's very mundane, you know, it's go home, or let's say it's whatever, and then the guys will chip in quickly, you know. They can organize things like now. Because up front you said there's a problem about this, all of a sudden this one's doing this one's doing that, and you solve the problem. But when you talk about the weaknesses, to your point is that, yeah, no man, something really,
it's strong like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like the fact that we moved to men going to the council, the council being
The tea party.
right? The tea party.
Yes, that's why it was the concept.
Yeah, so I was the council.
Jam and cheese. Yeah.
Right? So I've loved how we said I need to go to the council and say to the council, I have this problem or I have this weakness. I have these issues that I'm dealing with. Mara, and I think again we've moved away from the fact that would you as a guy go and see a complete stranger, sit up at the table with them or sit on a couch with them and speak to them about your issues?
Well, I think it's easier if we go to a place where it's familiar.
Okay.
You know, it's easier for me to talk to you because, you know, familiar, and I've built years of relationship, and it's easier for me to start opening up. There always there's two sides to it. Right? Other people would say that no, because you already know my stuff, I don't want you to know anything else. I have to go to a complete stranger. So it could be two ways. But to go to a complete stranger and start talking about, and for the fact that you have to pay again. You know, and just be like, yeah.
Yeah, I can go get it for free somewhere else. Why should I pay?
Why should I go pay? That's another thing, yeah.
Mara, then don't you think strangers are able to be very honest with the person?
Yeah, exactly. There's something. There's another side where they could, and again they're professionals. You know?
Yeah.
They're able to tell you and deal with you in a professional sense, where they can really help you rather than getting a 2 cents opinion, you know, from a friend, which is regarded, you know, which is very good to help you offload.
Yeah.
So I think we must also look at it in 2 ways to say, going to a friend from the council, right? It's more of I want to get an opinion and I'm offloading, right? But whereby there's things that have predominantly been there over the years, which have trigger points and have been there and you've been dealing with, where you need help, you have to go and seek professional help. So you get into a routine where you're able to to overcome that thing over the years. It's not something where I'm just offloading. Because we can offload in therapy, but also getting tools that will help you over the years to deal with the thing. Yeah.
Can I add on to that, but in a question point?
Okay, cool. No.
Just on the whole difference on counselor and a therapist, which I like to break down. There is value in both. But now, do we not then think that as Black people from a society that we've been raised in, it's also the lack of knowledge around what therapy really is? Because it is westernized. And as much as I can personally say I was exposed to therapy from a young age because of that privilege, but as I grew up, I had stopped, but then chose therapy later and only realized that I've shortchanged my healing and my growth because of the perceived value or perceived notion of what it is. So it's that whole westernized thing and lack of knowledge on my end. But once I actually took the time to put myself out there, actually weigh my options and go back into therapy and actually realize that the tools we don't speak about. Therapy, no. But there are tools. Exactly. But we don't speak about the actual structure of therapy. There are tools. There's homework. There's homework.
Go home and do this.
Thank you. And without those tools, you're just wasting your 1 point per month or per session. Exactly, 1.5. So you're just wasting your money if you're not taking those tools that you are given after every session, applying yourself, sitting down yourself, introspecting and whatnot. We don't speak about the tools as what therapy is. We speak about, yes, what we see in movies, and pointing out your flaws, but we need to also educate. And maybe it's a main thing of also educating your circle within the council. So my boy, yeah, this from what my experience, but I also would recommend therapy because yes, the psyche, the professional, but also the person's able to give you tools tailored to the conversation on actually go do this exercise, go do this or whatnot. So it's also an education thing. Okay. That I do believe that needs to be done.
100% agree. I remember when you said this, I remember I was watching a Girlfriends and Maya said, Black people don't go to therapy.
Right?
They go to church.
Right?
Okay?
Yeah, so we're raised with that notion.
And you're raised
Pray about it.
Pray about it. And you know, you will spend your life praying about this thing. And I don't know, maybe God is not downloading the tools, but maybe God has also and maybe God has also put professionals in our lives. They put each
other forms of answered prayers.
Other forms of answered prayers, you understand? So there was one time we did this thing at church where, you know, and I'm like, guys, therapy is the thing. You can't, if you can't trust the people at church because they're gonna gossip about you, you know, then find somebody that you can, you know, trust. And it's that dark side, because if your friend can recognize that, hey, I think this is too heavy for me, and they're allowed to say, they're allowed to be like, dog, I hear you, I hear it, this needs professional help. I can't give you the kind of help that you need myself, because I can't do it.
But you said women are able to then call that out, but are men able to call that one like, hey, dog, actually.
I think on the point, before we move on to something else, also we have viewed prayer as a magic wand.
Yes.
You know? And I think that's why on the quote how Black people don't go to therapy, they go to church, you're thinking by just praying about it, you know, it will go away. And sometimes praying about it, sometimes praying about it is literally just having a conversation with God about it. Say, look, these are some of the stuff, and find whatever on scripture, try and help you deal with it, you know.
Unpopular fact, right? That I'm going to say. And I don't need to be upset or offended, but I need to say this. What I've realized about us Black people is that we go to church not because we so church is a feel good place, number one, right? Two is it becomes a flex environment, right? And our churches take too long. So we sit in church for 3-4 hours. in one sitting. And then when you really come out of it, it's not a, for me, I just feel like our church are not solution. Wait. It's an unpopular thing.
I'm agreeing with you.
So I feel like our churches are not solution based. Like, so we go to church, we sit there for 3 hours, we praise and worship and we sing, and we do all sorts of things, right? And then we give money and then we leave. Whereas if we really understood what therapy was, you would understand the importance of, as much as you pray about things, you need to put in the word. The very same Bible that we are reading says, faith without actions is dead. Right? So therefore, you can't just go and say, Mudim, I've got a problem, and then fold your arms and sit there and hope that you're going to wake up one day and the problem will be taken care of. You need to put in the work.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we now, as modern parents and as modern generation, we now need to almost start re-engineering the doctrines that have been taught. Therefore, the interrogate is a one-stop shop where you can go there and then things just very disappear. From my personal experience, right? So I remember I lost my parents when I was 17, 18 years old, right? So they passed away 8 months ago. And I remember an instance where my mother passed away first and then my dad followed a few months later. And I remember we were sitting around the table with the social worker because now we are a child health council. So now there needs to be an intervention from social development and I remember we were sitting in this conversation and one of my neighbors was there. And I could not understand exactly what the hell was going on, right? Because people are talking about wara, and which I truly appreciate, and I thank them for making the relevant. But it was after I made a conscious decision that I needed to go to therapy that the healing process had not been done when it happened. Right? Because I didn't have the time to go through it.
Yeah.
Because my mother passed away, I was scared heartbroken. My dad passed away, I was numb. Yeah. So I never really got to deal with the grief and the loss of a parent. Right? So it started manifesting itself a few months later. Actually, I didn't help. So I had a good mental breakdown most of the time. I started seeing a psychologist. I remember in Ramki spoke about the truth. So we then started speaking about understanding exactly where these triggers come from. So why are you behaving the way you're behaving? What you do is wrong. And then when you started sitting and really going back, and for me, giving me the chance to reflect on things, right? Then there are a lot of the things that were left unattended at the back that eventually started then, because now we started sitting with things on the heart, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, the dirt got so much that it started to stink, right? And it started to stink, then started, coming out in other ways. Then I was very short-tempered. The child was very quiet. I started saying a lot of things that I'm not supposed to be saying. But that was purely based on the fact that there were issues that I could not deal with. There were unresolved traumas that I had that got triggered later in my life. Right? Then I started seeing this lady, started speaking about what it was. And then now I look back at the conversation and I realize how that whole exercise of 8 months has been able to equip me to be a better human being and make better decisions in my adult life. Because there's a point of reference, there were tools that were given to me that became skill sets that I could apply even today. A lot of the things that I do now hinge on the fact that because you know what happened, and because you remember what this lady said once or twice, you are then able to constantly pause, reflect, and then decide to act, right? But that addresses one part of life. Therapy, for me, should be an ongoing thing. You can't just go there once and then disappear, right? You can't just, drive through and but I think for me, I think it needs to be an ongoing conversation. And to your point again, we need to then get to a point where we can start therapy, understand exactly what is that and what does therapy seek to achieve. Because people think, but I'm therapy is nothing.
Hey, watch out. Literally.
Right? So I think we then need to demystify that myth and then make us understand exactly what does therapy mean and what is the intended outcome of ours. And also maybe then we then need to put on a different lens. And by that I mean we look at therapy from a Western lens or through a Western lens. right? And therefore, that's why we always say that people go to therapy. That's why we always see therapy as a place where lunatics go to. We always look at therapy as right? But I think if we then started applying a different lens and then start looking at this thing from what it means for me as a human being, regardless of race, whether I'm black or white, but what does so take away the race out of it and say, if I were to go to therapy today, what would be the desired outcome?
But you see, I think it's important for us to understand we can't have that view. We don't have the privilege of that lens.
Okay, the other lens.
So where we are sitting is that there's therapy, this is us.
Yeah.
Until you go to therapy, you will never know the benefits of therapy. And I'll make an example of myself. I went to therapy with certain things that I had to address or whatever. And you know, one of it being the relationship with my mother. And the therapist said to me, you can't change your mother. She is who she is. But you can change how you deal with her. And that is the one thing, you know, now we're having a conversation, you're telling me about this, I'm able to pass that on to you, right?
Yeah.
And we start that process that maybe it will trigger something in you. And now I don't need to be triggered by, you know, we had a pastor that came to church, a white pastor, and and I don't think it was coming from a bad place or anything like that. And he said, you people, offense. You know, but he was comfortable to say, you know, amongst white communities, this. But you people. But also, I understood he was an old white man, very old. He comes from an agriculture background. As much as I wanted to tell him that that was wrong, for me it wasn't a thing of, yeah, he's coming here and he's like this. I don't think the energy for me didn't feel like that. But I could understand that this is who this person is. I can come and be like, you need to know that it's not right.
Yeah.
The erasure of black people is not right.
Yeah.
But it's not coming from I'm not
But,
taking it like,
You're ready to fight.
I'm not ready to fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
Yeah.
fight. It
Yeah.
didn't come to me like, you know, he's come here intentionally to insult us. No. But because he didn't know better. He doesn't know better. And that's what I'm saying. When you go to therapy, we will be better people because you will bring your tools to us. Right. And then you can then say, no, go here. And then when we see behind man, this actually, it makes sense. It will encourage us to do that. You understand?
But also, how many of us would talk about it?
Amongst men.
Yeah. We're good.
Because yeah, amongst men, you're right. To say that, hey, I had a session with my therapist. Then that's not a conversation that you can hear at all within men, you know, amongst men rather. Because if we heard that, then I'd be encouraged to come and decided to go to therapy. Maybe let me try it out because this is my friend. I'm hearing him talk about these things and how that's helped him. You know, maybe within the circle, 50% are going to therapy. We don't know about it because to them it's like, I don't want to appear as I'm weak. Rather let me give a right and then, you know,
Meanwhile, you could actually be saving someone else within the community
Exactly.
by saying, hey guys, I actually saw a therapist, and this is the tools.
And maybe I'll be thinking about going, but I'm like, what are my guys, you know,
And that validation and that word of mouth gives
Uh-huh.
me the confidence of, okay,
I'll be there,
it's gone. Okay, let me try. I might be in secret, I might not tell y'all, but it's you passing it on. It's like recommending the best gardener in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Hey, yeah, he did my garden on point.
Yeah.
You recommend. He does therapy too.
Sure. But another thing that we should just you spoke about the lens, right? Because also as black people from a cultural or traditional point of view, we had some form of therapy, right? But not obviously with the tools that we now know, because there was a council or elders in these villages that were there to make sure that they assist you in the right passage, as you are growing up, because you were never in silos. You were always within communities and villages, right? As much as maybe how they would help you to deal with certain things, it's different from how obviously the Western tools and stuff like that. But let's say a woman is pregnant and is ready to give birth, they will assign an elder, within the family or community to walk the journey with you, And I think over the years, it's things that have fallen off within our culture and our tradition. But there was always there, whereby you could seek counsel. You could not do anything, even when you're about to partake and go to a pilgrimage, you first have to go to a council, and they will tell you, this is what we know about this journey. You cannot do this. You want to leave it. There was always counsel that and other predominantly was more for men, they would go and seek advice from the elders. And I think that's something that we have lost, but we don't really speak, to our elders, so to speak, for them to offer some form of guidance. Yeah.
Now that we know what we want, right? And about the lack of counsel, or the lack of mentorship and the lack of guidance that we currently face with, how then do you then think we find us in this? And whose responsibility is it to find these people? And I'm speaking about this from a male perspective, right? So where you want to come across as macho, both in the household and on the street, right? So where you don't want to be seen like you're wandering around without any sort of direction. Yet we forget that none of us are island. Right? We forget that if you really want to go anywhere, you are better at impacts than going there as an individual, right? And I think, as I'm listening and as I'm reflecting, I realize that what you grew up knowing is it's getting the whole day, every single day, right? Or if it's not already, right? And because what people taught us was that I am because you are. What people do was all about the blueprint of people were really about we are stronger together and your pain is as good as my pain. Your success is as good as my success. I am because you are. Right? So we are now living in an era where people just mind our business. So we're okay to live in a street where you don't know your neighbors. And you're okay to see them and wave at them if they're lucky to get away from them. Whereas when growing up, you knew everybody in the household. 50 houses as the way you knew every single person in the household that you relate to. So with all of this, how then do you think we need to go back to understanding and almost rekindling the sense of community and ensuring that then helps us to navigate our way back to our team?
This is a logic question.
Yeah. It is.
But I think we need to go back to basics. Okay, maybe I think we have to be okay with failing. We have to start being okay with being seen as weak. We have to start. The only way we're gonna move forward, especially I think amongst men. I used to be somebody who was not an emotional person because you know what? They will never see me cry. Gang, gang, gang. But when you suppress, because you don't want people to see you as weak, you don't want people to see you to take, to whatever. But we have to get to a point where it's okay. It's okay. Why is it that my daughter can run and trip and fall? You're like, oh, sorry, are you okay? She gets up, she keeps going. The only way a baby can learn how to actually walk is to take a few falls. But we're at a point where we're so scared to fall. We're so invested in abantu bazothini PTY.
Right.
It has to be. You know, it has to be okay to fail, to say, I'm struggling, to say, I need help. How will we reach you if we don't know? Because there we are minding our own business. But if you also don't cry,
and they'll be surprised,
and
then we'll be the first ones to get on the stage at your funeral and say, "Oh, but,"
and you know, he said this, but you never made it. It's unfair for you to call us when you're having a good time. And for us to be there for you and celebrate with you.
Yeah.
But you can't call us when you're struggling. That is not fair.
That is
Okay? Another one to take.
It's not fair. And the people that are for you, the people who are really there for you,
I will jump.
they will jump for you.
And that's how then you realize, to answer your previous question, who that circle, that council is.
Yeah.
Because trust me,
Yeah.
literally in that, reaching out and crying, saying, I'm struggling, that's when the true friends, the true, like your biggest cheerleaders will like actually have limited time, finances, or whatever it is, or knowledge on the topic. But girl, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm actually, do not let me reschedule my life. I'm there.
Listen, we will come together,
And bring the tea and cookies.
bring the tea and cookies,
But
make the
we're there.
plans to happen, but we'll be there.
You will not.
But for as long as you only want us to see the one side of it,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
unfair. Which is why I could go and be like, oh, you know, this man, he's doing this. And, you know, she would have told me 5 million times about that.
Yeah.
Leave that person.
But I'll still be there.
But she'll still be there. And it's the same, I can still, you know, I know. And
Right.
tomorrow. I'm like, look where I am. And she'll be like,
Okay, girl. Whatever you choose, I'm there next week.
but it has to be okay.
Yeah.
You have to trust your people enough that if I can invite you to be there
At my graduation.
I'm expecting you to be there at my lowest.
There we go.
And if I can't have you there at my lowest and you can't pick me up,
There we go. Then you filter
It's
your.
life is that. It's the wins, it's the bad moments.
There you go.
Yeah.
so
And again, there's more of the bad moments than there are the wins, right?
And but that's the thing, we're not honest about that from a male
Yeah, more,
perspective.
exactly.
You're not honest about, I actually been failing the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And if I had that counsel, I actually maybe would have treated differently.
Exactly.
Gone to different spaces or networks or whatever. But because you guys literally stay in your corner and fail in silence and you see it as weakness, you literally struggle longer. You prolong that the sun shining again or whatever it is. But it's actually reaching out.
it's reaching out.
It's actually reaching out.
It's giving your full person, your full self.
Yeah.
Like we will fight, right? And fighting is not a thing. Like it's
adulting.
It's adulting.
Yes.
We will fight, but we'll come together.
Yes.
And the fighting is always we'll have a disagreement. Maybe we don't see to have, but those are the things that bring us closer. I feel like men are afraid to fall out of sorts because you know, yeah, we women are always fighting. We fight, but we love each other. You know, my daughter and her cousin, they were fighting here, and my sister entered. They're like, listen here. Okay, we love each other. We will figure it out, okay? Don't enter yourself in things that have nothing to do with it.
Wow, okay.
Right? These are two, I think at the time there was 6. Understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
Never again am I going back.
But that's where the growth, the connecting, the like relating to each other comes from. It's having those courageous conversations openly in its most honest, like innocent, rawest, plain self, without the facade of perfection and flex. I still need to look like I came on top. Actually, no, fam. I cry myself to sleep every night. Put it out there. And be honest about it, because then she'll definitely know, okay, Nicole's crying herself to bed every night. She makes sure she checks it intentionally. She really cares. intention. You WhatsApp, your phone call is like, yo, girl, I'm at your door. Because then you are invested in the person coming out and down space. And that's the true fact of dealing with the mental health, the connecting, and actually carrying each other through those failures, which yes do result in like building or watering bad mental health hygiene of actually going through things alone. And I'm a victim of it in the sense of I'm guilty of being that human, but I have a network, I mean, circle of friends who call me out of my BS. They're like, oh, we know you're literally had my dog season last year, and literally was a situation where my friends like, okay, she's doing that thing of going MIA. They know my location was. They literally planned amongst themselves, got into a car, brought lunch, and like made it, we're downstairs. And it's literally a situation of that allowed me to be vulnerable and literally express myself, and there was no judgment. But what ended up being in that space, we cried together, there was guidance, but also growing back. So now 6 months down the line, we look back to that situation like, yo, girl, but yo, that day was deep. It's because they carried me through it. Unlike it would have been a different situation where it's like, hey guys, get a message from family saying, hey, Nicole has left us. And that's the reality of actually having the right network, but also putting yourself out there that they know what you're really going through.
So let me tell you what I've learned over time and more important conversation. That is, men don't allow themselves to be vulnerable in friendships. And this is born out of traditional customs and most men and don't allow themselves to become intimate. And I don't mean sexual. Vulnerable and intimate with your guy friends and say, I'm dealing with this, I'm suffering from this. Guys don't allow themselves the opportunity to express emotion and cry. Guys don't allow themselves enough or adequate time to let other people see them at their weakness. And purely because society has said it is frowned upon a man to talk. It is frowned upon to be seen as a victim. Your wife, your husband, or your wife or your partner, and your children can be seen as this thing. You don't must not be kind. Men are put your people in your life. And I think we need to definitely start to say, now that you know it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to see other and not you. You are not that the greatness is what.
Love that.
It's been another interesting conversation of university. There's a lot to go through. We can hear the whole thing.
I love that.
But I think, as human beings, we are able to take something out of this. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to say I'm not fine. And don't put yourself in crime and end up being all the So seek help. Find your counsel. If you can't find the counsel, then go to professional. Somebody will assist you. Let's do it again. Part 3 of what it means to be mentally healthy, what it means to think about mental wellness. And hopefully I will save a life. I lost 2 friends to suicide due to depression. And I carried the guilt for the longest time. Because I felt like I could see the signs. I knew something was wrong. But because we did not want to be intrusive, we were like, it's not going when they are late. Right? They never got better. The last time we got a call, the next time somebody said, so and so is gone. So and so hung themselves. So and so took tablets. So and so decided to go off himself in the garage. Right? So I'm hoping that we're able to then get to a point where we're able to speak about our challenges and our failures and try.
To be intrusive also.
To be
intrusive. Like Nico said, they showed up, bro. Didn't answer. They were there. We're not leaving.
Okay. So I think help. Be inclusive if you need to be inclusive. But on a more serious, I think we can save someone's life. You can save your own life by really seeking help. I for one know that I am going to challenge all of my guys friends and say to them, we need to talk. And then they'll find out why people don't want to go home, and find out why people don't want to go home for the holidays. Find out why people would rather be in the streets than be at home, and find out why people want to rather stay at home than be out. Right? So I'm hoping that we're able to get to the crux of it and raise a generation of men who are then able to go out and say, I'm weak and I'm suffering, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Keep shining.
Pa, 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 pa.